So about a year ago, again, I don't know why I keep doing these nonconformist things. I should just play by the rules. But what I did was I had a bunch of people emailing me. They had heard that we had done well. We had this, pre-seed or seed from Andreessen. So a lot of people were excited to invest. And I just didn't want to meet with all these investors. And at the same time, we were having lots of users who really loved what we're doing, but they wanted to know, are we a going concern? Are their biggest fear would we get bought by Google and now all of this data is used to target ads? Yeah. So we wanted to do two things. One is build trust with users, and hopefully multiple birds with one stone when it comes to investor meetings. And so what I did is I just made my pitch deck public. I took a 7-minute pitch of my Series A. I put it on Twitter. I remember debating this internally, and like people's biggest fear internally at our team, like most people thought it was a bad idea. And again, it goes back to I said earlier, confidence in my conviction. My gut said we should just do this. Like, what's the harm? At worst, no investors interested, and all of our users think, wow, this is so cool. This company's actually being transparent. That's going to build trust. And so my gut said, let's just put it out there and see what happens. And we thought nobody would see it. It went viral. Like 2.5 million people watched it. We had thousands of offers to invest. I know you're going to ask about general solicitation.
This is a general solicitation. Were you specifically at crowdfunding? Like, what was your?
So it's not crowdfunding. So the thing is, there's the recent rules, actually not too recent, a few years back, they changed it. So as long as whoever invests when there's a general solicitation is an accredited investor, then you can get around this issue. And by the way, you have to go above and beyond to prove a credit. When it's a general solicitation, you have to do all kinds of paperwork to prove these are accredited investors. That's what we did. We did that. Okay. And so if you're going to do this, consult with your lawyers. It's definitely a lot more paperwork and headache to get this right. Yes. This was not crowdfunding. So we did not let anyone invest. You had to be an accredited investor. And anyway, we put it out. We had thousands of offers. In fact, I put up this form where you could submit how much you want to invest and at what valuation. And I had this beautiful curve of like the distribution of valuations people gave us. And that actually gave me a great sense of the market price. I got a great investor. And then I didn't choose the highest price we got. I actually chose the investor who was the most long-term oriented. It was NEA. They invest at the IPO. They have 15-year fund life cycles. Great team. And so that was great. And I actually cast a wide net. And that's how we ended up doing our Series A.
How many investors in total were in your Series A? I mean, obviously NEA led it, but like who else was in there? Or how many people were in there?
So we did, so NEA led it, and then First Round Capital, Andreessen participated. They're two of our other biggest shareholders. And then we did an RUV, a roll-up vehicle with AngelList, which I highly recommend. And we started doing this, and I was like, what's the harm? No big deal. It's just one entry in the cap table. We almost got to the limit, the SEC limit on the number of investors. So to the answer to your question is, I think it was like 239. 239 is like, I think the limit of accredited investors. And you get a special exemption for qualified purchasers, which is like 10 million more. Anyway, so about 200 or 250 so investors in the series.
Okay. And you had never really met with NEA before. You did not have a relationship with them.
I did not. No, I had met them maybe for the Series A at Optimize like 10 years ago, but the partner I'd met with had left. And they're a great firm. It wasn't, I didn't think to go and, reach out. And in fact, I didn't really reach out to anybody for the Series A. I just put this out there. And, in fact, the way I did this was in some ways to try to select against the kind of board member I talked about earlier, which is the one that kind of wants to have all the answers and not all the questions. You kind of have to swallow your pride to submit on an online forum you're interested in investing. The worst version of Silicon Valley investors are the ones that want you to go up and down Sand Hill Road, wait half an hour in their lobby, kiss their ring, and I just wanted to select them out. So I didn't actually reach out to any investors. I just used this pitch deck. If they didn't see it, so what? I had plenty of people interested. Yeah. And so NEA has this very humble, very like founder first mentality. They know that ultimately like the end of success of the company is if the founder is going to be there 10, 20, 30 years. So like we were just so aligned. And part of it was the process. I chose a process that selected out the ego-driven investor who wants you to come kiss their ring. And I'm sure I'm going to piss people off by saying this. I've heard rumblings that the way I've done that fundraise and subsequently I've done other things that kind of piss investors off. It has a little bit of an arrogance to it, but I feel like there's so few founders out there who can like credibly do that. There's so many investors who treat founders like second-class citizens that like if there's anything you can do to sort of even the odds, I feel like I have to do that on behalf of other founders. But maybe I'll regret that. We'll see.
I'm sorry, Dan. I love this. VCs are so sensitive and like have such big egos. I'm sure they hated this. So I'm glad you did that. It's crazy though. It is crazy.